everyone. Today we're going to look at the similarities and differences between the International Space Station, which has been very successful, and the Artemis Gateway, which is planned to be a space station orbiting around the moon. Welcome to Reaching for the Moon, hosted by me, Ed Grace. For those of you that don't know me, I spent 10 years on the Apollo program while I was at MIT, and I was part of the mission operations team on Apollo 13, awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Before we get on to the discussion between the International Space Station and the Artemis Gateway, there were two events that occurred this week which I'd like to inform you about. The United States Space Force announced that its headquarters would be in Huntsville, Alabama. The Cape Canaveral, Florida area, with its Patrick Air Force Base, made a very strong presentation to be chosen as the future location, but unfortunately for those of us in Florida, it was not selected. Blue Origin made a very successful test flight of its new Shepard Rocket, complete with a landing of the Blue Origin capsule from its West Texas launch site after reaching its altitude goal of 66 miles. That's above the recognized 62-mile border of space. The rocket came down perfectly on its intended landing site. With this flight success, Blue Origin moves much closer to including real astronauts in its future missions. The flight also enhanced Blue Origin's Artemis human landing system position to be selected by NASA for future development. Okay, let's move on to the International Space Station. Last November was the 20th anniversary of the International Space Station. The International Space Station is a modular space station in low Earth orbit and is a cooperative program between 5 participating space agencies: NASA from the United States, Roscosmos from Russia, JAXA from Japan, ESA, the European Space Agency, from Europe, and the CSA, the Canadian Space Agency. The goal of the co-op program is for joint development, operation, and utilization of a permanently inhabited space station in low Earth orbit. The ownership and use of the space station is established by intergovernmental treaties and agreements which define the rights and obligations of each of the countries and their jurisdiction and control with respect to their space station elements. The International Space Station has been very successful since its inception. No major technical, logistical, or contractual issues for the first 20 years. Lots of research has been done in the gravity-free environment. Mission control is shared between NASA and Roscosmos, with support operations in both locations. The International Space Station is planned to be operational and functional for the next 8 years until 2028. The station serves as a microgravity and space environment research laboratory in which scientific research is conducted in astrobiology, astronomy, meteorology, physics, and other fields. The International Space Station is suited for testing the spacecraft systems and equipment that's required for possible future long-duration missions to the Moon and Mars. However, at this time, there are no programs in place to extend or replace the International Space Station after 2028. NASA is hoping that commercial companies will announce and develop programs to replace the International Space Station's functionality. So far, no commercial company has stepped forward at this time. In the meantime, China has announced its plans to launch the first module of its planned space station in 2021, with the hopes of completing phase 1 of its third generation modular space station in late 2022. NASA is moving forward with its Artemis Gateway program, which will be a lunar landing orbiting space station. At the present time, the Artemis Gateway is only planned to be about 1/6 the size of the International Space Station. It's being developed primarily as a hosting docking port for visiting astronaut spacecraft and lunar landing vehicles that the astronauts will use to visit to the moon. It's expected that the Artemis Gateway will evolve with new modules added by international partners over time, allowing crew members to conduct much longer lunar missions. That's exactly what happened to the International Space Station. NASA's initial Artemis Gateway design focused on development of critical elements required to support the planned Artemis 2024 moon landing. However, in recent press releases, NASA has removed the requirement for the Gateway to be operational in time for the first lunar landing in 2024. Alternate plans are being developed for the first Artemis lunar landing without docking at the Artemis Gateway. One of the major differences between the two space stations is that the Artemis Gateway will have a power and propulsion element which the ISS, the International Space Station, does not have. The power and propulsion element will have the ability to change the Gateway's orbit around the moon, thus allowing the astronauts to land at a variety of locations on the lunar surface. The International Space Station remains in the same orbit day after day. NASA has published the Artemis Accords, which have been signed and agreed to by 8 nations so far. The Artemis Accords establish a practical set of principles to guide space exploration cooperation amongst nations participating in the agency's 21st century lunar exploration plans. This agreement is an important element in a broad effort by the United States to engage international partners in sustainable lunar exploration and to demonstrate technologies necessary for a future human mission to Mars. In addition, the European Space Agency has finalized an agreement to collaborate on the Artemis Gateway with NASA. The agreement marks NASA's first formal commitment to launch international crew members to the lunar vicinity as part of the NASA Artemis missions. Artemis will be the broadest and most diverse international human space exploration program in history, and the Artemis Accords are the vehicle that will establish the singular global coalition, said NASA Administrator Jim Brandenstein. Well, with that, I'm going to close today's video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section and we'll do our best to answer them. If you like today's video, please give us a like. Hit the subscribe and notification bell. That way you're going to receive an email every time Reaching for the Moon posts a new video. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and remember always, failure is not an option. Bye.